Autumn is approaching, and that can only mean one thing. It's football season, and it's time to play fantasy football.
For the kids, for the kids.
Oh, Elmo loves throwing passes to Amari.
When until the Reaper takes my life.
Lucky for you, you are right where you need to be. So sit back, relax, and turn up the volume on your streaming device. Johnny Ballgame, Sir Poops-a-Lot, and the Fantasy Reaper are about to deliver humor and fantasy gold at the same time. Crush your opponent with a smile. It's Fantasy Sports Island.
Welcome back to Fantasy Sports Island. I got all my boys tonight. Their whole round table is here. Welcome, Johnny Ballgame.
What's up, everybody?
Hey.
Man, I'm in a good mood tonight.
Why are you in a good mood tonight, John?
Because we're talking about football.
That always puts me in a good mood.
Always.
We have Tony, Sir Poops-a-Lot.
Just drinking coffee. That gets me in a good mood. Every
also-
time.
Also a diuretic.
That's why it gets me in a good mood.
Right.
I'm going to hold it the whole show.
Representing Dayton, Ohio.
Oh, yeah. Go Flyers.
And welcome back to the show. Special guest star, Royce. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good.
The fantasy Rolls Royce is more proper.
Always nice to have the degenerate gambler with us.
That's right.
Oh, ball game. Speaking of, Bills +1 at Rams, week 1.
What?
Taking the Bills.
Oh, you taking Bills?
Love the Bills. Yeah, letdown city. First game.
Only Royce would be talking about a week 1 projected bet 10 weeks out.
Exactly. Hey, you got to be ready. Let's go.
It's his thing.
Welcome to the show, everyone. I am the Fantasy Reaper. Welcome back to Fantasy Sports Island, the show where you can crush your opponent with a smile. We're doing this every week, so you're going to want to hit that like button. You want to subscribe, hit that notification bell. We're coming at you, right, John?
Coming at you every week now for the rest of the season. Oh, so good.
It's so good. And tonight's a good one. We're going to break down the AFC East Division for fantasy purposes. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And then we're going to discuss something that Royce has been talking up for a couple weeks now. It's the zero RB theory. I've never personally tried it myself in a real draft, but we're going to discuss the RB zero theory and how it works. And we'll figure out some guys that you could take in the later rounds at the running back position to make it work for you. How's that sound?
Boom.
Boom.
Awesome.
Sounds like gold is what it sounds like, Chuck.
It sounds like gold. So, John, if it sounds like gold, shouldn't they be hitting that like button?
That's kind of a given. If you're listening to this show, you've probably already hit the like button, let's be honest. But if you haven't, then yes, you should hit the like button.
Definitely.
No, we'll wait.
Yeah, we'll wait. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
While you're hitting that like button, we're just going to go over a couple news and notes around the league just real quick because there isn't a lot going on right now. Mini camps finished. The training camps are coming up in a couple weeks. So let's talk about number 1. And we got to go to John because he's a Chicago Bears fan. I believe the savior has been brought to the Bears. Wide receiver N'Keal Harry, an ex-first-round pick of the New England Patriots, has been traded to the Bears for a 2024 7th-round pick. John, tell me, how does it make you feel as a Bears fan?
I mean, I think we've been delivered. You know what I mean? Like we've been given it's almost like the rest of the NFL acquiesced the title to us when N'Keal Harry came over. I mean, anybody that you can get for a 7th-round pick 2 drafts from now is got to be good, right? I mean, I think back of all the highlight that he had when he was with New England, the one highlight.
I don't even remember that.
Oh boy.
Kind of exactly my point.
The Fantasy Reaper had surgery on Monday, and making me laugh is probably not the best.
Oh, right.
I didn't think about that. Maybe this was not a good idea, Chuck.
Excuse me.
Yeah, I need some of that, Tony. All right. Next story. Carolina is reporting that they're going to have an open competition at quarterback between Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold. Yes, that's what they said. Tony, tell me why you don't buy this.
These stories are ridiculous because they go out of their way to bring in Baker Mayfield. They've been talking about it for months. They get him in there, and then they're going to hold tryouts. It's not going to happen. Baker's going to start, and he's barely going to be better than anybody else. But
it turns out the other guy that was on the team was already on the team. So if they thought he was going to win the job, they might not have traded for Baker Mayfield.
I think they were like, hey, Sam, we need to talk to you. We are going to pick up Baker Mayfield, okay? But we don't want to disrespect you. So we're going to tell the media that we're having open. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Oh, well, I feel bad for Sam Darnold a little bit. It's his problem.
The Panthers are only paying $5 million of Baker Mayfield's salary, which is pretty amazing. That's only like 33% of his salary. How they negotiated that deal down so well was good for them. I mean, Baker Mayfield's obviously an upgrade, and they don't have to pay him a lot of money. It worked out for them, but there's no way in hell that they're not going to go with Baker Mayfield. It's just stupid to even talk about. The people that are throwing this out there, they ought to be shot. I mean,
Feels violent, but okay.
I'm a little violent. All right, you guys ready to break down the AFC East?
Sure.
Surgery Chuck is grumpy.
All right, here we go.
AFC East Divisional Breakdown.
Let's talk about the AFC East Divisional Breakdown for fantasy football. And we got 4 teams, and we're going to do them in order of projected finish by Vegas. Of course, they like the Buffalo Bills first. Then we're going to talk about the Miami Dolphins. Then we're going to talk about the New England Patriots, and bringing up the rear, the New York Jets. We got 4 teams to go over. We're going to go over them in detail. We got a lot of time to talk about them tonight. So let's start with the Buffalo Bills. I'm going to start with you, Tony. We're going to talk about Josh Allen. He is the consensus number 1 quarterback in fantasy football. Tell me why Josh Allen is your number 1 quarterback.
There's nothing to explain. Just go back to the Chiefs game last year. That should sum it up. Like I've been saying for a few weeks now, I think not only is the system and the talent there, we all know they're a hell of a team. We all know that Josh is arguably the best quarterback in football right now, arguably top 3, whatever. I like him as number 1. But like I said, I think they have something to prove because they really should have made it last year. They should have been in the Super Bowl. And he doesn't choke, and he's got a flame under his ass. And like I said, something to prove. So I think they're I think not only the best in the division, I think they may be the best team in football right now. That's what I think.
I'm in agreement with you on that. I think they're out to hunt this year. This is the team to beat. Little nugget here about Josh Allen. His passing efficiency last year actually dropped from 2020. It's a little bit more careless with the ball, had a little bit more turnovers, less completion percentage, things of that nature. Yeah. But to make up for that, his rushing stats went through the roof. Finished with 763 yards rushing and 6 TDs. You add that to his total passing touchdowns. The dude had 42 touchdowns. Think about that. 42 touchdowns, and he dropped 76 extra points just in rushing yards. It's insane. And you add all the weapons that we're about to discuss here to this team, and Gabriel Davis breaking out. This man has to be the number 1 quarterback. I think John disagrees a little bit, so I'm gonna let him talk.
Yeah, Joe Burrow's the number one quarterback this year by the end of the season. But I will say Josh Allen's a sure pretty good number two. I do worry about a regression this year. I worry about his turnovers. He, like you just said, he still has some pretty high turnovers. He doesn't take care of the ball very well. I mean, he's kind of Ben Roethlisberger-y a little bit in that respect. But God, his legs, his talent, his weapons now. I agree. He's definitely the number two quarterback for fantasy this year.
And he also hasn't really ever had a fantasy-friendly running back in the backfield with him now. So I want to talk to Royce about the running back position in Buffalo. Devin Singletary returns, but they also went out and drafted James Cook. And we all know that's Dalvin Cook's little brother. So I want you to tell me if you like either one of these guys.
I got Singletary as my RB29 right now. He had a little over 11 carries last year. Problem is with running backs in Buffalo, they never get checked down to. 13% of his routes, Allen looked his way, and he's the number one running back on the team. I do like Cook, though. We're going to talk about the zero RB here in a little bit. I do like him in the later rounds. I mean, he's probably a good number three. You're not a problem to have him on your bench, but I mean, again, with Josh Allen as your quarterback, I just don't see much value in Singletary, to be honest with you.
Okay, and they also still have Zach Moss, who
he disappeared last year.
He can still get cut. Yeah, he can still get cut. I don't see him being a fantasy factor. I personally like James Cook a lot. He brings that extra weapon that Josh Allen needs, and I think they're going to utilize that to no end. I don't think he'll be a 3-down back. I still think Devin Singletary has a purpose. But, John, I know you're dying to tell me what's on your mind.
I'm with Royce a little bit here. I think he brings some value, but I don't think Josh checks down.
He doesn't.
He'd rather just run.
Right.
You know, I mean,
like
see
Lamar.
Also the 736 yards running that he had last year. So I love James Cook. I think James Cook will end up being the better running back of that group. Singletary kind of came on toward the end of the season, and you're right, Moss disappeared. And they also have the ever rising Duke Johnson on that team. So
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I doubt they use him as the third down back. I doubt he's actually on the team by the end of the year, or Moss won't be, one of those two. But I like James Cook. I think I agree with you on the zero running back thing. I think I would take him before I would take Devin Singletary, because I think he'll end up being the running back by the end.
Yeah.
Let me add this, though. Don't forget, they tried to get J.D. McKissick. They thought they had a deal done. Right. And then when that didn't work, they tried to trade for Christian McCaffrey. So what does that tell you? They want an explosive pass-catching back to complement Josh Allen. Now, you could say, and you're right, he doesn't like to dump it off, but that's ad lib. I'm talking about design screenplays. They're going to use Cook not only for those, but also in the slot as an extra receiver. And that's where he's
run many of those though last year.
They did not, but that's because they didn't have that kind of weapon, right? Devin Singletary is not that kind of player.
Who's their new offensive coordinator this year too? Don't they have a new offensive coordinator? Because
Dayball moved on. They have a new offensive coordinator. So the scheme's going to be a little different. He might come up with different ideas. Yeah. And I believe his first, order of business was, let's get a explosive pass catching back out of the backfield. So
if they had somebody like Moss when they played the Patriots, I think that would have been a different game. Remember that low scoring game? They couldn't do anything.
Moss or Cook?
I'm sorry, Cook. My bad.
Because they did.
If they asked me like Cook, yeah, because Moss didn't do nothing. But yeah, if they asked me like Cook, or I think that's why they were really trying to trade or find somebody in the offseason.
I think that's why they went out and got themselves a Duke Johnson. You know what I mean? When you got that much talent out there, you got to go get them.
Yeah, absolutely. He's still got legs. He has a little bit of legs on him.
He does have little legs on him.
They're short.
He's a tiny fellow.
Yeah,
so little.
Talk about the wide receiver core in Buffalo. Wide receiver Stephon Diggs barely finished as a wide receiver one last year. But like John says, every other year is a Stephon Diggs year. So
I'm high on Diggs this year.
You're high on Diggs, right?
I'm
Now,
high on Diggs because you're high on Davis. Talk to me, Chuck. You tell me why Gabriel Davis is your number one receiver on the Buffalo.
I'm actually high on something else. I'm high on some painkillers right now.
Hell
John.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But yes, I am very high on Gabriel Davis because once they unleashed him, he showed he was really good. This is his third year in the league, the breakout season for wide receivers. The last game we saw him play, he caught 8 balls for 201 and 4 touchdowns and was definitely the go-to guy in the most important game of the season. Who was Josh Allen relying on in that game against the Chiefs? It wasn't Stephon Diggs. It was Gabe Davis. To me, he is the guy he's 22 years old. That this is the guy that's going to break out this year. He is my number one fantasy sleeper.
Yeah. Gabriel Davis had more catches and yards in that game than N'Keal Harry did his entire time with the Patriots. Anyway, it just hit me as you were saying that. Stephon Diggs will go off this year. So that's all I wanted to say.
He's always a reliable target to Josh Allen.
You guys remember his numbers in 2020?
They were fantastic.
They're ridiculous.
127 catches,
Yeah.
1,535 yards. That's stupid.
Yeah.
But did he rely on Stephon Diggs a lot because he didn't have a complimentary wide receiver too?
Okay, but his drop off to 2021 when everybody's like it's a down Stephon year, 103 catches for 1,200 yards and 10 touchdowns.
Right.
What a crap hole that guy is. Like, if that's his every other year down year, I can't wait to have him this year.
Right. He's reliable. If you take him as your wide receiver 1, you're very safe and probably going to get wide receiver 1 value. So there's nothing wrong with Diggs.
How many touchdowns did Dawson Knox have?
That's a good question.
Like 9 or 10 touchdowns?
I think he had 8, if I recall.
Still a good amount of that,
But didn't he get most of those early, though? If I remember?
Yeah, he did. And once Gabriel Davis emerged,
he kind of
Dawson
fell
Knox
off, right?
wasn't as much of a factor. I really feel like they discovered something when Davis broke out. So
he had 9 touchdowns. 9 of his 71 catches were touchdowns.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean.
But listen to what I just said.
That's a solid team.
Wow.
9 of his 71 catches were touchdowns. There's no way that gets replicated the second year.
It might, though, because he's the guy at the goal line that Josh Allen likes to rely on when he rolls out. So it might be.
Now he's got Gabe Davis. He's got Diggs. He's got Cook. He's got – I actually am down, and I like Dawson Knox actually a lot. But, didn't he get injured toward the end of the year last year?
Yeah, he did have a hand.
He get injured all the time? So
we also have Jamison Crowder there, John, who is a very good slot receiver, very underrated. Another weapon for Josh Allen.
Also, do you remember who else they picked up in the offseason at tight end?
Duke Moss. Sorry.
Not Harry.
OJ Howard.
OJ Howard.
OJ Howard. Oh, okay.
Who, by the way, giant target for the end zone.
Still young. He's not I would say he's been a bust so far, but you can't quite label him a bust yet because he's still pretty young and could turn it around.
Yeah.
So, like I said, Josh Allen is just loaded with weapons. Don't forget about Isaiah McKenzie, who had a couple bust-out games last year.
And he was a rookie last year, right? Am I right about that?
He was either a rookie or a second year.
Yeah.
Another young receiver that is just pretty good. So he's like their wide receiver 4.
He's going in deep drafts, like 15-team drafts. McKenzie's getting drafted. So, you're drafting 4 receivers from the Bills.
And that's why you want Josh Allen. All right. We've talked about the Bills enough. Go get your Bills, folks. In fantasy football, you're going to want some shares of the Buffalo Bills on offense. We don't even have to talk about their defense. We'll just say their defense was really good last year. They got a lot of turnovers, and I see similar results this year. Right?
I like their defense a lot.
Yeah.
Like maybe the most. So, that really does tell you, Coop was right. It's the number 1 team in the league. Yeah,
the Bills are our number 1 team because of the offense and the defense combined. It's just they're really good.
Stupid team.
Yeah, we haven't even talked about the defense. They're unbelievable.
We didn't even have time to talk about it because their offense is so good. All right. Let's talk about the Miami Dolphins. Let's talk about Tua Tagovailoa for just a minute. The narrative out there is that Tua can't throw the ball deep. Everyone's saying it. They're worried about the move for Hill coming over to Miami. But let me just throw this little nugget at you that I found. Amongst 42 qualified quarterbacks when throwing the ball last year, 20-plus yards down the field, Tua finished number 2 in yards per attempt and number 1 in adjusted completion percentage throwing the deep ball. So the problem was he didn't throw any touchdowns deep. And if you think about it, other than Devontae Parker, who was hurt a lot, what deep threat did he have? Now he has Hill, Tyreek Hill.
Who's that again? Never heard of him.
Yeah. I think we're being a little too hard on Tua. What do you think, John?
I do too. I actually really like Tua as a sneaky late second quarterback that I want to get on my team, and then he'll end up being my starter by the end of the year, unless I have Burrow, who will be the number 1 fantasy quarterback.
So you've heard it here. John's going to take Joe Burrow and Tua. Those are his 2 guys.
Yep.
So if you're in a draft with John, you can snipe him right before you pick him.
We all know who's listening right now.
Tony, I also want to talk about Jalen Waddle. Tyreek Hill is the fastest guy in the league, a wide receiver with pads on. Let's be real. Him being there, does it take away from Jalen Waddle, or does it enhance Jalen Waddle's fantasy season?
I personally feel it's going to enhance it. I think this year, everybody's going to be watching out for Hill. They have to. It's going to open up Waddle in a different way, and I think it's going to be pretty explosive. I think both guys are going to do good, but I personally don't think Hill's going to destroy it, but he's going to have some huge games. I think Waddle's going to have a great season. I'm excited to see it. The kid's amazing, dude. We've seen it for a while now. Great hands.
Also, he's got chemistry with Tua.
Already does.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you got the new McDaniel or whatever, right? He comes from a pass-heavy system. They like their QBs. They like throwing it. I'm pretty excited about these guys.
They like speed, Tony. They like speed. That's why they go out and got Tyreek Hill. That's why they went out and got 2 fast running backs in Raheem Mostert and Chase Edmonds. And they added Sony Michel.
That running back room is loaded, I think.
Exactly. Let's talk about that, Royce. Let's talk about the running backs in Miami. Tell me what you like.
Loaded, yes, but just it's too much, too many.
I agree. Too much of the same.
There's no. Who's your number 1 guy? Chase Edmonds is going to start. He's going. Let's see. He's RB 35 right now. Again, we'll talk about the 0 RB later. He's going around the same time people are picking up Pollard and Matson. So if he does go down, if you're going to handcuff him with Michelle, I think Michelle would come back as a number 1.
Really? Don't you think Mostert might end up
No,
resting
Mostert, he's injured right now. He's saying he's 100%, but I don't know. I can't trust that guy to stay on the field.
He does get hurt a lot. Yeah.
And poor Gaskin too. The poor guy. I mean, he's the only one who started. He started all 17 games last year, but he's the 4th guy on the bottom of the barrel, and it's really sad. We had some big hopes for him. I know Ballgame had some big hopes for him last year. Yeah, so Edmonds is not bad. I just don't know if Edmonds is going to play once. It's going to be like preseason. Edmonds plays 1 series, and Michelle might come in and who's the 3rd down back. I mean, it's a mess. It's not a bad mess, but it's just too many of the same player ball game. You're right. Yeah. So
who's even
go ahead.
Who's even sadder than Myles Gaskin? Do you remember Sullivan Ahmed?
Yeah, he's on the roster too. Yeah,
he's running back 5.
Yeah, he's like 5. Yeah, he's almost after.
So I'm completely with you, Royce, but I think Mostert ends up winning that job. I think he's the most purely talented running back of all of them. If he could just stay healthy. That guy can hit a hole. He's powerful. He's fast. He can catch, but he just can't stay on the field.
See, I'm with you, John. Yeah, I'm with you, John, because I think they'll roll with Raheem Mostert until he gets inevitably hurt, and that might be one play like last year. But if he can go a couple weeks, they'll run him into the ground. You know, they won't run him into the ground like giving him 20, 30 carries, but they'll use him quite a bit and see if he can break off some long ones. And then Chase Edmonds will be like the pass catching back.
That's what I think too. That's where he's better.
Maybe
He's not an every down back to me. He's much better. at
Exactly.
step back.
And that's why I think if Raheem Mostert goes down, that's when they plug in Sony Michel. So I think Chase Edmonds, he'll start,
I
but
think he'll start.
I don't think Miles Gaskin's on the team. I think they'll trade him.
yeah, one of those guys has got to go between Gaskin and Ahmed. So
To the
we
Bears.
also did talk about Cedric Wilson. They added him from the Cowboys.
Yes.
All right.
Wilson, also another fast receiver who had some real big gains for Dallas last year.
Yep.
So
My big question right now is Gesicki, because he's in the middle of a contract dispute and he did not sign his franchise tender. Or did he sign his franchise tender? Maybe he did. I could
he
be
did
wrong.
not.
He did not yet. Yeah. So, and I like Gesicki a lot. I think he catches a lot of passes. I think he becomes almost like a wide receiver out there. But he's one of my favorites from a tight end position. I just feel like that guy could break out. And now he's got Tyreek taking more pressure off of him. He's got Waddle on the other side, and Tua can't throw the deep ball, allegedly. Why not hit Gaskin over the middle? Just throwing it out there.
Gaskin or the tight
Or
end?
Gesicki. Sorry, Gesicki.
Yeah. They could throw the ball to Gaskin, but that'll be on the sideline. Probably an incomplete pass, John.
Or an interception because he's turned a deep back on another team.
Okay, and they also have Durham Smythe and Adam Shaheen, backup tight ends that throw in there. And these guys can catch a few passes.
Also known as who?
Yeah, they're not well-known guys, but they did catch a few touchdowns last
Shaheen
year.
actually vultures some touchdowns. That guy.
He does. He does. And they still have Preston Williams, who is not someone you're going to draft. But if you had a couple injuries at wide receiver, don't forget about him, because he's capable of putting together a 80 to 90 catch season. He did that a few years back before his injury. So
God, I totally forgot about that guy. Seriously, I 100% forgot about Preston Williams. Just forgot about
They had a slight upgrade in the offensive line too. It's not major, but it's going to help.
I really like
He
what
looks
Miami
good.
did. They look good.
They had a
looks
great
good.
offseason. Great offseason.
All right. So let's talk about the New England Patriots. We'll start with Mac Jones. I want to get your opinion. We'll just go to you, John. Tell me what you think about Mac Jones this year.
I mean, he's good, right? I mean, he's a good backup quarterback to have on your team. If you need a good, safe backup quarterback, he had a couple of top 4 finishes last year. I think I read like he did pretty good. Of the rookie quarterbacks, I thought he was actually one of the better ones, other than Davis Mills, which I can't believe I said that, but I think he did pretty good. So he's a middle of the pack quarterback to me, and I think that's where he'll probably stay. He just lost his best weapon in N'Keal Harry. I don't know. He's okay.
All right. Tell me about the running back situation, Rice. Who do you like in that backfield?
Damon Harris, obviously, is the number one guy. He's going around RB24 right now. It's kind of the same place as AJ Dillon. Or people are taking him around there. He's a number one. I like Stevenson though. He was a third down back. He got a lot of PT when Harris just hurt a few times last year. I like him as well. And don't forget about James White. He was hurt most of the season too, and he's healthy now too. So again,
Always a factor.
Always a factor. You'll see him back there.
I want no part of this. I want no part of this backfield.
No, I agree too. I mean, Harris again at the RB0 would not be a bad 10th, 11th pick. If he's still there, he may not be there, but if you can get him around that time, take a flyer. But
that's kind of how I feel about Stevenson.
I'm not starting any of these guys though. In my fantasy, I just bench players.
James White is Tom Brady's bitch. Now that Tom Brady's gone, I don't think he's a factor. I think they're going forward mostly with, and Ramondre is not necessarily a third down back, so maybe James White does have some sort of a role there. But I like Damian Harris. The dude
Yeah.
scored 16 touchdowns last year, guys. Let's not
I
forget. And it
He
was a
does that
similar
twice.
situation. Similar situation, John.
I just don't know who does that twice.
Why not? Their offense should be better.
It's an F ton of touchdowns. Like he's incredibly touchdown dependent, and I just don't think you can do that more than once.
New England runs the ball into the end zone. They don't throw touchdowns as much as other teams do. They like to run it in.
Yeah. I think there's better options. Let me ask you this, Chuck. You got AJ Dillon or Harris sitting there? Who are you picking?
Good question. That's
Mm.
close.
Yeah.
But you know I'm gonna take Polaris. I'm gonna take
Give me a
Damian
second. Yeah.
because the touchdowns. In fantasy football, touchdowns are, they score you a lot of points.
They're
The
gold.
man had
Yeah.
16 of them last year. I don't see his role changing. I think he's going to get around the same as long as he stays healthy. So
Yeah.
I'm all in.
Okay.
I don't know if I just don't
Not feeling it, Poop.
trust the Patriots too much. I just don't. I mean, they're not awful. I think there might, I don't know. I guess it comes down to Mac Jones. They kind of like to spread that ball around. They don't have. We definitely don't like. Parker might be good, but we really don't love their wide receivers. Their cornerbacks suck. I was reading about that last week. They always have an above average defense to good defense. There's a couple holes this year. I don't know. I don't trust the Patriots.
They still have Jacoby Myers, who had a pretty good year. They have Devontae Parker, who they traded for. They have Kendrick Bourne, who is a deep ball threat. They still have Nelson Aguilar. They drafted Tyquan Thornton, who is a speedster. So they do have some weapons.
Don't
They
forget
do.
they've got Ty Montgomery on that team.
They have Ty Montgomery. And don't ask me why they have Ty Montgomery.
Who's listed both as running back and wide receiver.
Look
Hunter
out.
Henry.
Because that's how good he is, ball game.
Yeah, that is.
I really like their
And he
defense
kicked
this
in
year,
high
by the way.
school.
Do you like their defense?
I do like the
You're not
Patriots
scared
defense.
about the D-backs?
I'm sorry.
You're not scared about the D-backs on that team?
Bill Belichick's good at scheming the defense up.
Yeah, that's true.
So I don't think they're going to be top 5, but nobody's looking at them in the draft as a top 5 D, so you can get them kind of later. So they're always pretty good. They get a lot of scores on defense, a lot of turnovers. So I like them.
Yeah, I mean, both their tight ends are good tight ends. They can both score, but they vulture from each other. And so to me, when you've got two pretty good tight ends, you don't have one good tight end.
Hunter Henry was pretty good last year, though. He had the bulk of those touchdowns. He definitely showed out better than the other tight end for sure.
Johnny.
He was the better player, even though they brought Jonnu Smith in to be their
Yeah,
quote
for
unquote
sure.
lead tight end. It didn't work out that way.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, let's talk about the New York Jets. 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 This is my favorite team this year to make the biggest leap in fantasy and in reality. I think this team is going to be vastly improved. I think it starts at the quarterback position. We're talking about Wilson. I want to know, even though the guy, we've heard some of his sexual proclivity, let's just say, he's a pimp, but can he be a pimp on the fantasy football field, John? What do you think?
I like him. Man. For some reason, I get this crazy great, sneaky feeling about him. I feel like he may end up being the second best quarterback in the AFC East this year.
Oh, behind Mac Jones.
It took me a minute to hear what you just said. Yeah. Josh is probably 4.
Oh, yeah.
I don't like him. I don't like Stifler. I think he's going to make a lot of. I still think he's going to make mistakes. He's going to be a little better than last year. That's just. Maybe I'm going off in gut, but I love Salah. I like the coach. I love the team. I do like their changes. I think the jury's still out on Stifler, BYU, or whatever it is.
I got to look up the story. I don't know what you guys are talking about. So I'm
it's a good one. Get your popcorn when you read
I
it.
can't
It's-
wait.
So while you're doing that, John, let's talk about his weapons. He's got Elijah Moore, who was a breakout candidate last year. He really started to come on. Garrett Wilson, they drafted from Ohio State, superstar in the making. They still have Corey Davis, who is now the wide receiver 3, which is a better fit for him. They have Braxton Berrios in the slot, who was really pretty good last year in the slot. And they still have Denzel Mims. So I like the surrounding cast at wide receiver. What do you guys think? I don't think you have to draft Wilson very high. I think you could get him late in the draft, and he could be worth, like, as a second quarterback, could be worth it.
I did just Google. It's fantastic.
All right, let's talk about the
We'll
running
see,
back.
man. We'll see. We'll see.
Well, let's talk about the running backs, because there's those added weapons there.
I actually agree with you, by the way, with the receivers. It's a talented receiver round. I love a lot.
They're on the core. But there's one more guy that we haven't talked about yet in the backfield that is a super explosive weapon for Wilson. I'm gonna let Royce talk about him. Royce, tell me the
Yes.
backfield who you like for the New York Jets.
Brees Hall, baby. I'm on the Chuck wagon, man. I'm getting him in the 4th round. He's RB27. He's going to be a top 10 guy this year. Talking bell cow. This guy is explosive. He's fast. He'll hit you in the throat and wave goodbye when he scores touchdowns, man. He is going to be fun to watch. Michael Carter. Yeah, again, another RB.
He showed moments last year. He had good moments.
Yeah, he had moments. Yeah, but Hall is he's going to be fun to watch. I'm just drafting him to see what's going to happen with this guy. I mean, he's a stud, guys. Seriously, get him. He's going as late as the 4th round. I think that's way late. I mean, if you're doing the 0 thing, obviously you're not going to get him, but he's a number 2 or 3 rounder. I'm telling you, get him. Trust me.
I totally agree. You guys know I have a love affair for Brees Hall. That's my boy.
Yeah.
Go ahead, John.
He definitely is on your list, for sure. I don't think Tevin Coleman ends up on the team at the end of the year. I think they'll keep Carter and Ty Johnson and then move on. I don't think Coleman stays on that team.
Yeah, it could be true. They got some tough defenses they got to face too, though.
Oh, and they got Uzoma, right? Uzoma?
Oh yeah.
The Bengals.
Mm-hmm.
What about Tyler Conklin? They also got him to join Uzoma.
Yeah,
And I think Conklin's the better tight end.
I do too, by far.
So they got
a
weapons.
lot of money on him too.
When he was a Bengal, you loved Uzoma. You
They
stop it
spent
right
money on
now.
what? They spent a lot of money on CJ, didn't they?
Yeah,
Yeah.
his jersey, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
I wouldn't.
Yeah. CJ Uzoma had a different role though on Cincinnati and a different quarterback. Joe Burrow is a better quarterback right now. And
What?
his role on the Jets will be a little bit different. He'll probably block a little bit more than he's used to. And because Tyler Conklin is the better tight end, in my opinion, and they're going to use him in the passing game.
Yeah.
So, I like Zach Wilson, guys. I do.
I do too.
You don't have to pay a steep price. You can get him late, stash him on your bench. If he breaks out, he's a lot like Josh Allen, guys. A couple years back, he's a little inaccurate, but he runs the ball. He's got an
Throws
arm.
really well on the run too. Like really well on the run. Yeah.
So don't give up on Zach Wilson yet, and he could be that pimp you're looking for. All right.
Hey Chuck, I got a Zach Wilson a Miller joke for you.
Go for it.
Why did he decide to go to BYU?
I don't know why.
Because the mascots are the Cougars.
Hey.
Hey!
That is good. That's good.
Fantastic.
All right. Yeah, look it up, ball game. Good stuff.
Oh, I just did.
Yeah.
It's super.
Pictures and everything. Yeah, good times.
All right.
Draft 101.
On to a new strategy for us. It's been out there for years. I don't think many of us have done this, but there's a lot of talk about zero RB theory. Okay. Zero RB doesn't mean you don't take any running backs, but what it does say is you take your receivers and quarterback and maybe a tight end first, and then you go get your running backs. So you skip taking those hammer running backs and you load up on running backs in the 5th through whatever round. Okay. And so what we wanted to do today is talk about the validity of this strategy first. And then we want to go find running backs that are being drafted according to ADP in the 5th or later rounds that you might want to load up on to enhance your strategy and maybe come away with some really good running backs. So let's talk about that, the strategy for a second. John, is zero RB in today's world a viable strategy?
Yeah, I think it is. I think running backs just continue to keep getting devalued. I think the running backs that you are going to get value for are the ones who can catch and run, and who are, some of the few 3-down backs that we have now. Everybody's become a specialist. Everybody's doing running back by committee. And when you take all that into account, if you don't get one of the 5 studs, why would you waste your next couple of rounds on picking people who are not going to bring you near as much value as receivers or quarterback or, some sort of stud? So, yeah, I think it's an incredibly viable option.
And Royce, last year, if you would have done zero RB theory, we've talked about this. What running backs could you have gotten on the waiver wire that were really good and ended up in the top 12?
Yeah, and these won leagues for people. Cordell Patterson, Eli Mitchell, and Rashard Penny. And these guys won people championships. I mean, you can get guys like this on the waiver wire. That's why it's so important. With 0 running backs, waiver wire is your best friend. You have
and that
to
happens
be
every year,
aggressive.
Royce, doesn't it?
Every single
year. There's like 3 or 4 guys off the waiver wire that end up helping
absolutely.
people.
And real quick, Chuck, a real quick fact: from RB 13 to RB 25, the only point difference is 3 points a game. That's it. From 13 to 25, you don't have to spend a 2nd or 3rd round on a running back too. You don't have to. Get your stud wide receivers, get Joe Burrow, get a tight end, and then start picking off RB2s. Just go.
Also, let me delve into this a little more. So when we talk about this, we're thinking, oh my gosh, well, I have to find 2 or 3 league winners in the rounds 5 or past, like Elijah Mitchell, right? He was a great pickup off the waiver wire. He was a top 12 running back, so he paid off. But you don't have to necessarily find that guy. You could find, like you said, Rashad Penny, who came on late.
Mm-hmm.
Say you find a guy early after an injury, like you pick up a guy like Cordero Patterson was a perfect example. Pick him up off the waiver wire like John did. He gets you going for the first half of the season, and he's like a top 5 running back. Then he fades, and you go out and get a guy like Rashad Penny off the waiver wire. He takes the back end for you. So there are ways to do it. You don't have to score and find a top 5 running back. You just need to find guys that get hot at certain points of the season and work that waiver wire. Right?
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Or you could draft 4 or 5 guys in the 5th round or later, and they're all pretty decent. And we're going to talk about those guys right now.
And then you play matchups, right?
You play matchups. So let's find guys. Let's talk through all the guys that I found in the 5th round or later. Let's talk about them all. All right. I'll start with you, Tony. I want to go right to Elijah Mitchell. Elijah Mitchell came out of nowhere. We all thought it was going to be Trey Sermon. Nope. He had attitude adjustment, and they went with Elijah Mitchell, and he was fantastic in San Francisco. Do you trust Elijah Mitchell this year?
Well, again, it always comes down to health injuries. The guy is another dynamic player. I do trust him. I think it's going to be a different season for him. He is another guy. I was not expecting it from him, but it's one of those things in San Francisco where every guy like, well, I guess I'll play this guy. There's nobody else. And then go off and end up being like the number 1 guy. But I love him. I think he's talented, and I think he's going to have a good season. But running backs are such a risk for me anymore. In this current climate, I mean, that's why we're discussing this, because in past years, to me, it would be way too risky. But there was more value and a lot more studs, in my opinion. Right now, like you guys are saying with the stats, there's only a handful of guys that you can grab right away. Other than that, everybody else is pretty close. But you didn't ask me that. Elijah Mitchell should have a good season.
All right. So Elijah Mitchell is coming off the board as running back 23 in round 5. Another guy that's right behind him is J.K. Dobbins, very similar, coming off an injury, but he is the starter in Baltimore. If he's healthy, he produces running back 1 stats. So, John, do you trust J.K. Dobbins?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for us to say. We haven't seen preseason. We haven't seen anything of him. But do I have him targeted right now after round 5? I certainly do. I think if he recovers, will be a steal for somebody after round 5.
Okay, and I want to go to you, Royce. All these guys are in round 5. Who's your first of the 3 picks? Elijah Mitchell, J.K. Dobbins, and A.J. Dillon. Who you taking?
Mitchell.
Me too.
Because he's a number 1 and what he showed last year. Yeah.
And not coming off a major injury.
Right. Ballgame, that's a steal at 5, I think, right?
Yes.
If that's your first running back off,
Oh, yeah.
If you imagine what your first 4 picks are and you get Mitchell at 5, I mean, come on.
Right.
I mean, your league's won almost right there. Yeah. Definitely Mitchell. I mean, yeah, target him for sure.
Here's another starter you can get around later in round 6, Damian Harris. We've already talked about him. I think in round 6, you can't go wrong with Damian Harris. What do you guys think? Would you take him in round 6?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't know if Johnny will, but I
mean, round 6 or after,
Yeah,
we're taking him there. I certainly wouldn't take him in the first 5 rounds,
But that's where he's going in round 6, so there's value there.
Yeah.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He's going in round 6. What do we think?
who's going to win that? So in my list, when you asked us to kind of look at this, I have Rojo / Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Yeah.
So whoever wins that starting job is the one that I'll want to get. And I think it's going to be Ronald Jones. I don't think it's going to be Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Excellent point, John. So if you take a guy like Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who has a question mark because we're not 100% certain he's the RB1 on that team, then you must draft Ronald Jones, and you could get him in the 11th round or later.
Yeah.
So that's a good strategy. You take Clyde Edwards-Helaire in 6, and you late in the draft, you go get Ronald Jones, and you're covered in an explosive offense like Kansas City.
Right.
Not a bad strategy.
Exactly, Chuck. And if you get him in the 11th round and he's starter day 1, you didn't waste the 4th or 5th pick on this or round pick on this guy. You got a number 1 guy in the 11th round.
Yeah.
Starting.
Exactly.
Boom.
Exactly. And if it doesn't work out, who cares? It's an 11th round pick. You drop him, move
Drop him,
on.
you pick somebody else.
Right.
That's the same with the Miami guys too.
Yeah.
Mostert, Edmonds, whatever.
All right, let's go to the next round, the 7th round. These are guys we can get in the 7th. I'll start with you, Tony, because you love this guy. Devin Singletary.
Funny.
Dude. Funny.
Just give him a twitch in his eye, Chuck.
All right, I'm going to log off.
You can talk about Miles Sanders instead. How about Miles Sanders? They're going around.
No. I'm gonna step up to the plate here. Singletary had his 4 weeks. We got to give it to him on that. But we like to cook, brother, over there. So I don't know, man. I mean, that's one guy that I won't draft to Singletary just out of spite. So but he did seem to improve, right? But the kid behind him, I think, is going to steal the job. Don't you guys think? Don't you think?
Yeah, I think James Cook is going to take away a lot of the third down responsibility for sure.
I'll say this.
Excellent.
I think Singletary's always been pretty good. They just started using him more, right? They stopped the timeshare.
True.
They let him get into a rhythm. I think the kid's incredibly talented, but now you got Cook, and it's just I don't want to.
I liked Zach Moss at one point. I liked Moss too. I thought he was quick. I liked watching, but he fumbled a lot, so they started benching him.
How about Miles Sanders, guys? With the touchdown regression when he had 0 last year, you think he's going to fall in the end zone a couple times this year. That would up his value. He's going also in the 7th round.
I think that's a steal.
I think it's a steal. I agree. Tell me why, John.
He's the number 1 running back, and he actually had a pretty good season other than not scoring touchdowns last year. When they finally stopped doing what they were doing in the beginning of the year, and turned into a running team, they started playing better. They saw that they need the run, and they were using Miles Sanders, and he was really good. He just couldn't get in the end zone.
Totally. You're not going to get an RB1 in the 7th round. I mean, that's great value. It's great value.
Not without injury or something.
Now, I got 3 guys that are also in the round 7 that I want to talk about that are probably not RB1s. They're not going to be RB1s on their team, but they can be explosive, and if an injury occurred, they could be RB1s. And that is Kareem Hunt, Tony Pollard, and Cordero Patterson. Cordero Patterson could be the RB1, or he could be the backup. We don't know yet. But Tony Pollard and Kareem Hunt are definitely the backups on their teams, but are very explosive. And if Zeke goes down, or if Chubb goes down, these guys could be top 5 running backs. What do we think about those guys? Let's start with you. I want to start with Royce. Tell me who you like better between Kareem Hunt and Tony Pollard.
I like Pollard. I mean, I had him last year in my 14-team league, and I think I had him in the flex every time. And he's on the field with Zeke too, which I like. He's just not waiting for Zeke to go down or garbage time. They'll put him in there, and now I think Ballgame was saying they're talking about putting him in the slot maybe this year. Yeah, because and really, guys, isn't he better than Zeke? I mean, there's no right. He's a better running back, I think, than Zeke is right now. Zeke's done. I mean, not that he's not going to start, but God, if Zeke goes down and you have Pollard, guys, I mean, he could be a top 5 guy for you. So
let me put it this way: do I think Pollard is a better running back than Zeke? No, I think Pollard's more explosive than Zeke, and he makes better big plays, explosive plays. I think Zeke's the better runner in between the tackles to get those tough yards. That's why Zeke still has the purpose there, and he's being paid more, so they're going to use him. But if he goes down,
in a down year, he still had 1,000 yards last year.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
But if he goes down, Pollard really his value just explodes.
Oh, huge. Right.
Yeah. Now, what do we think? Go ahead.
I was going to say he's like Alexander Madison to me, like one of those backups that you have to get. If you can, you get Pollard, you get Madison.
Yes.
I think you've got a really good chance of winning your league just by having them on your team.
Right. Because Cook gets hurt. He's going down this year at some point, right?
Yep.
So, absolutely.
All right, Tony, tell me about Cordero Patterson. Is that somebody you think can repeat somewhat what he did last year, or is it over?
I think it's over. I think it was a flash in the pan. I mean, because he fizzled out as the season went on. I know things changed a little bit down there, but I'm sorry. I just don't think he can do it. It was really exciting to watch him there for a while, but I think that's the last hurrah for that guy.
All right, what do you think about the 8th round selection in Rashad Penny? He came on late last year, Tony. Do you like Rashad Penny to be not only the starter there, because they also have Ken Walker now, but also in an offense that lost Russell Wilson? Can Rashad Penny still be a good, 1,000-yard running back?
Oh yeah, I think it's very viable. It's very possible. He, another injury-prone dude. I kind of want to uppercut that guy too, because I had like him and Carson and the whole thing, and they all ended up, I ditched all of them, and of course, Penny went off the last month, but it's very possible. But I like Walker too, so I don't know if that's going to eat into those carries or not. But both those guys are good, so there's another sort of like, handcuff situation to grab both those guys late.
All right, John, I'm coming to you. Go ahead.
Chuck, Walker, I'll say real quick. Walker, Rookie of the Year. Calling it right now. He's that good, guys. He's that good. I know. I'm getting some looks.
I don't disagree, actually. I don't disagree. I was going to tell you, I don't want any part of Rashad Penny. None.
Oh, okay.
He's never done it for a year. He's never done it even for a couple of weeks, right? I mean, he had a couple, I won't say he had a couple of good weeks there toward the end of the season, but he's like a bad penny. It just keeps coming back, man. It's like, I don't want it. I really think Kenneth Walker is going to really be good.
Yes.
I'm with
you.
All
right, so
I don't know if
John,
Rookie of the Year, but
John, let me ask you this then. Between these 3 8th round picks, like Rashad Penny, Ken Walker, or Chase Edmonds,
Ken Walker. I don't like any of those guys. I don't like Chase Edmonds. I've never liked Chase Edmonds. I didn't like him when he was on the Cardinals. He gets hurt a lot. He's just a glorified third down back to me. I just already told you how I feel about Rashard Penny, so I go Kenny Walker.
Okay. All right. So those are the guys you can get basically.
Where's Damian
round.
Pierce going from the Houston Texans?
We're getting to that. Now I wanted to talk
sorry.
about guys that go
Yeah.
later than the 8th round, that go super late, that
Okay.
might have some explosive upside. Go ahead, John. You like?
Damian Pierce. That guy's going to be the number 1 running back on an NFL team, and with zero competition in that backfield.
Right.
Davis Mills is an improving guy. The Houston Texans are a sneakily improving team. They're not going to be good by any stretch of the imagination. But that guy, you get him in the 9th or 10th round, and you can get a number 1 running back that late. Get him.
They do have Mac, though.
Like I said, not much competition. Khalil Mack's going to get more yards this year.
You can have
remember-
Damian
Yeah,
Pierce's 13th round, Royce.
Yeah, I know. Hey, remember the crappy teams, they score points too in fantasy, right? They do. Look,
Absolutely.
I mean, look at
That's what I was
Brandon
talking about
Cooks.
last year with
And
number
draft
1
Cooks.
receivers.
Right.
Yeah.
Cooks is top 10 every year, and then we never
Absolutely.
talk about him because he's on Houston. He's on Houston. If he's on anywhere else, we probably talk about him, but that's why we do the show.
That's why we
Let's
do the
go.
show. You're welcome, America.
Yes.
You're welcome.
So that's a 13th round pick. I got a 14th round pick that could possibly be a starter for as long as he stays healthy in Miami on a good offense, and that's Raheem Mostert. We touched upon him earlier. This man is the fastest running back in football. He's the fastest guy in the NFL. He was clocked at the fastest run speed ever recorded in an NFL game. Raheem Mostert. And like I said, the Dolphins like to load up with speed. All those options on the outside, that's going to open up lanes for Raheem Mostert. If he's the starter,
excited, Chuck.
I'm telling you, Mostert could be a good sneaky get in the 14th round.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I
Yeah.
would totally get that.
Absolutely.
Here's another guy.
Royce isn't buying Mostert. Royce is not buying it. I can see it.
He's also the fastest one in the IR too. So, can't do much
That's a
on the
good point.
sideline. You can't do much on the sideline ball game if you're holding the playbook,
That's
right?
true.
So
Sometimes the greatest ability is available.
And they spent a lot of money on Edmonds.
they did, you know what, exactly, ball game or poop. That's why he's going to start, guys. They did a 2-year for him. They're paying him, so he's getting the ball first in that.
You know what they also want to do, and I don't know if you guys know about this, but they want to win. So if Mostert shows up and shows out, I feel like they'll be like, "Hey, Chase is a good third down running back. We should use him for that. Pay good money for a third down back."
Exactly.
All right, one more guy that I have in the 15th round. He's going right now. Gus Edwards. Did we forget about Gus Edwards? Because last I checked, J.K. Dobbins is still returning from his injury and hasn't started practicing yet.
So is Gus. They got hurt on the same day.
Gus.
But
broke my heart
J.K.
last year.
Dobbins is still dealing with the recovery process, whereas Gus Edwards is supposedly fully healed and ready to go. So I'm thinking early on in the season, if J.K. Dobbins is still on the pup, missing the first 4 to 6 weeks, you plug in Gus Edwards as a starting running back on a lethal offensive rushing attack. 15th round. It's like the last round of your draft.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
You know what I mean? Like, you can just cut him if it doesn't work, but he could end up being. Remember what happened 2 years ago? 2 years ago, Gus Edwards was a really good running.
Yeah,
he was.
He actually gave me pause last year about Dobbins because Gus was still on the team.
Exactly.
And he was going to be a vulture.
Where's McKissick going?
I have him on my list too. I was wondering about that.
Yeah. So I don't even have him in the top 15 rounds. So in a lot of leagues, he's not being drafted. In deeper leagues that go 20 rounds, he's being drafted late. So what do you guys think about J.D. McKissick?
Potential.
Yeah.
Not saying he's
I
going to
mean,
win the league for you,
They
but
haven't shown that they're going to use Gibson the way they promised they were going
Right.
to.
that's what
Right.
I'm
They
afraid.
really wanted McKissick back, and they made a play to steal him back from Buffalo. So, and Buffalo got Duke Johnson out of it. So
I agree. He could be the Pollard of that team. Definitely.
You make fun of Duke Johnson, Johnny, but Duke Johnson won me the league last year. He came through in the last week.
He did. Yes, he did.
Duke's my hero.
Duke.
Right. Do we have any other running backs that are deep in the draft that we want to discuss?
Yeah. Chuck, how about, I don't know. I don't think you guys are going to be high in this guy. And, God bless Jonathan Taylor. He's been healthy, but if he goes down, what do you think about Hines getting him late?
They said they want to get him more involved anyway, even with Taylor is healthy. But
Okay.
that could just be coach speak.
Melvin Gordon.
Mel
Cock
Gordon.
a doodle do, motherfucker.
Where's
If Melvin,
where's ATN going in the draft?
He's got to be
Travis
pretty high.
Etienne's like a
right?
fourth round pick.
Is he going for
Yeah,
it? Okay.
yeah, he's pretty high.
And I like
Wow.
Travis Etienne. What about James Robinson?
What about Robinson? Yeah. What about him?
Coming back from a
There's
major
some guys
injury
out
late
there.
in the season.
There's some guys
Major
out
injury late in the season.
Right.
What
Yeah,
about
where-
Darrell Henderson?
Yeah, there you go.
If
another
Cam
one.
Akers doesn't fully recover, I mean, and Cam Akers looked pretty good in the Super Bowl, and the playoffs, but there's still a chance that he's Cam Akers and he's going to get hurt. So
Yeah.
D. Henderson.
All right. So we've talked about a bunch of guys you can get later doing your zero RB theory. Now, so I think a good strategy is to get guys that most likely will be RB1s with like Damian Harris, like J.K. Dobbins if he's healthy, like Elijah Mitchell, like Miles Sanders. These are guys you load up on in the 5th, 6th, 7th rounds. You get 2 or 3 of these guys and you're set. But if you're going to take a guy like, I don't know, Devin Singletary, then you need to go and get James Cook too. Or if you go and get, a guy like Clyde Edwards-Helaire, you need to go later and get Ronald Jones too. So you're going to have to use
Mostert
Edmonds. But that's a viable strategy as well, as long as you make sure you're taking the second guy a little earlier than ADP, so you make sure you get him. Because if you don't get him, that could be bad.
Yeah.
So
What do you think about Damian Polaris and Ramondre as a
that's another one. But those guys come closer together. So you're gonna, So you have to take Damian in the 6th and Ramondre probably in the 8th or 9th round. But it could be done.
Yeah.
But if you do that, okay, and you get, a couple ridiculous wide receivers like Jefferson and say, I don't know, who would you get in the 2nd round? Debo, right? You get those guys.
Exactly.
And then you take your boy from Cincinnati, John, you take Joe Burrow. And then you get in the 4th round a guy like Kittle. You've loaded up at every position, and then you do the zero RBs and you go take 3, 4 in a row, right?
Mhm.
That could work. That's a solid strategy.
I actually think
Because most of the other teams, they're going to be getting their wide receivers.
if you had the team you just named,
Yeah,
you
you're
might
winning.
win. Actually,
You probably
That's a viable strategy, folks, because I've drafted that team in a mock that I just gave you. I got Jefferson in the 1st. I came back with Debo.
you did.
I did.
Although you
I
didn't
did it
get
just
Burrow.
like I said. I got Burrow, and then I got Kittle.
Nice.
And then I tried the running backs. Now, the running backs I got, I can't remember who I got, but it was like 3 in a row of the guys we discussed. So it could work. It could work. Plus, you work the waiver wire.
Yeah.
But I do want to say one thing about this strategy. This strategy is only for redraft leagues only. It's not for best ball. It doesn't work for best ball. Best ball is when they automatically set your lineup based on best performances each week. That will not work for this. You don't want to use this strategy for that. You want hammers.
Right.
It's a great point.
Do we have anything else to discuss regarding zero RB theory, guys? Anything else you want to add?
All I'm saying is I think it's good in this climate right now, this environment where fantasy is at. For me, it's not always viable every season, but right now it could definitely work.
I agree.
Right.
Things change in NFL,
Yeah.
so stay on. Yeah, go ahead, Royce.
Let me ask you a question, Jack, are you doing this in a 10-man league? Or is this for just 12 and 14?
Well, technically, we're talking about a 12.
Okay. So 10, you would probably just
Then you might want, you could have some different options there.
I
Yeah.
think the strategy works for 10 or 12, to be honest, or 14. I think it works in any strategy.
Yeah.
I could
It's
almost
just a
work
little-
better in a 14.
It works better in a 10, actually, because you get better
get
running
better
backs following
yeah,
leaders
RB1
with trap.
later. Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually a good point.
Yeah.
Right, I
And it
changed
also
my
just,
opinion.
do you have a flex? Because if you have a flex and you can play, running back in the flex, that can change your strategy a little bit. If you have, 2 or 3 flex positions, maybe it's not a great strategy. Okay. But if it's just one flex, it will still work.
Yeah, but if you're drafting 4 wide receivers in the 4 rounds, that could be one of your flex too, right?
Yeah, that could be.
That can work too.
Yeah.
That can work too. Yeah.
You can have Allen Robinson in there as your flex, and he's a 3 anywhere else, right? Yeah.
Know your rules. Know your rules.
Yeah.
As long as the wide receiver in the 4th, 5th round that you're taking outscores that running back you're going to take in the 4th or 5th round, just know that. Know who's the higher scorer there, right? And you want to put him in your flex. All right.
Right.
Good segment, guys.
Good job.
Great show tonight. It was fun. I think we really tackled zero RB theory. Royce, are you satisfied?
Yes. Next week let's talk about hero RBI strategy. Back to you, Chuck.
The hero RB strategy. We could do that next week. Matter of fact, let's mark that down. Let's do that next week. Next week, we'll do the hero RB strategy, and that's taking 2 potentially top 12 running backs in the first 2 rounds. We'll discuss that option.
Right.
I want to thank Sir Poops a lot for coming on the show tonight. Thank you once again for your excellent commentary. I want to thank.
Better, dude.
Oh, thank you, sir. I want to thank the Fantasy Rolls Royce for his special pop-up guest appearance.
We love having the Royce.
Definitely. And once again, the Savage, Johnny Ballgame, dropping that knowledge. Thank you, Johnny.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having us. And Chucky, man, we're glad you're feeling better after the surgery. And man, you still held it down. Nobody would have known if you hadn't said anything.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I'm feeling pretty good, all things considered. And I'll be good to go next week. And you should be too. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, comment, hit that notification bell, all that good stuff. We'll see you next week. Thank you for joining Fantasy Sports Island. Aloha.
Aloha.
Tune in next week for another episode of Fantasy Sports Island.